Hello again, and welcome back to the governance and stakeholder topic of the advanced MOOC on freshwater health. In the second segment of this topic, we will look at the context of a freshwater initiative. Like governance, the term context is often heard in this line of work. We are taught that management plans have to fit the context and inevitably encounter the statement that water governance is complicated because of overlapping boundaries. For this reason, a water health initiative will likely start off with a context analysis. It serves to locate the boundaries of the relevant human and ecological systems that might affect our planned actions, but also help to identify stakeholders and institutions that are part of the governance system. To conduct a context analysis, one approach is the de facto standard, both in the public and private sector. This is the so-called PESTEL analysis. A PESTEL analysis is not so much a technical approach or sophisticated method, but rather a recognition that the spaces we inhabit are shaped by different rules and forces. The PESTEL analysis does not try to capture all the complexity of human life, but it asks to investigate 6 specific rule systems and document the results in a structured format, such as a table or matrix. Following this thinking, the boundaries of your context are not one line on a map. Imagine it more like a 3-dimensional Venn diagram with intermingling bubbles of different colors, shapes, and sizes hovering. Each bubble is linked to a different rule system. For example, over the course of this MOOC, you will have already discussed the boundaries of ecosystems and habitats and geobiophysical rules that lead to the boundaries of an ecosystem. One such rule could be water flows downhill. In addition to these natural boundaries, the PESTEL analysis also asks to investigate decision-making conventions and power dynamics that create the political space, social and cultural norms that define identities and social spaces, formal laws that create a legal space, as well as the rules of the local economic system and dynamics and availability in the use of technology. A context analysis does not stand on its own. It is conducted as information input to a larger action, such as a project, a freshwater health initiative, or to prepare individual activities within a larger initiative. So, for example, in a freshwater context, you might conduct a context analysis in preparation for the drafting of a management plan, to assist in the designing of a new monitoring system, or before introducing a technological or nature-based solution to rehabilitate or improve a water body. Within each of the 6 dimensions, many different questions could be asked. Which ones are relevant depends on the reason you conduct a PESTEL analysis. There is not one standard set of questions. For example, if your freshwater initiatives aims to change an existing freshwater policy, you need to investigate how laws are made and approved. If this is not the case, then the only need is to investigate which rules already exist and apply. In terms of data sources, note that most information for context analysis is publicly available. There is no point trying to replicate at high cost what huge national and international agencies survey on a routine basis. For a quick practical overview of typical data sources, please note that we have posted a complimentary video on this platform. Only after reviewing such public information, detail can be added with a few selected and targeted expert interviews. As part of the more detailed introduction of the 6 dimensions, we have prepared a number of challenge questions for you. Please pause this video to ready a virtual or physical notepad if you don't have one at hand already. Please keep the notes taken over the rest of this segment after the end of this video for exercises as well as for topic 6.3. Analysis of a political context typically involves 3 aspects, namely the structure of the political system, its conventions and power dynamics, and the current priorities, attitudes, and developments. The structure of a political system includes the number of levels from local to regional and how responsibilities are divided among them. Such structural aspects have to be distinguished from the daily practice of politics, which is influenced by power dynamics and political agendas. All political systems have lots of unwritten rules and hidden networks. Unless you have political experience yourself, it is of the utmost importance to talk to an actual insider who knows the game, who knows what people to talk to, in what order and how. In contrast to such power dynamics, political agendas are more public but can change dramatically with each election or even events on the news. For example, parties place different priorities on the importance of ecosystem protection, but also in the mind of the general public, the importance of the environment tends to rise and fall, for example, with unemployment numbers or with visible natural disasters. With this, we have reached our first challenge question. Please consider a context of your own choosing, either the area you already live in or the context of the freshwater system you aim to work with. Please answer the challenge questions from your own current knowledge. Do not look up answers yet. The first question relates to your knowledge of the current political climate. Please think back to the last significant election and the parties that won and lost. In your assessment, do you think the current political climate would be better or would it be worse for freshwater health initiatives if the opposition party had won and not the party currently in power? Please take 30 seconds to make some notes based on your own knowledge. Different from the pure delineation of a freshwater ecosystem, the environmental boundaries of a context analysis challenge you to position the freshwater system in relation and connection to other spaces, places, and systems. This can involve ecosystem connectivity or migratory species. It could involve the physical location of settlements or industries that affect the water system. It could include the boundaries of areas with a specific status, such as a protected area. In this day and age, it is particularly important to consider trends and dynamics, such as climate change, which is shifting the boundaries of entire ecosystems that once were called stable. Finally, in a context analysis, one would typically also investigate environment-related social activities located at the site. A long-established rowing club, for example, or a fondness of the local population for walking their dogs along the lake or river can be a source of surprising influence. For our second challenge question, we ask you to consider the full catchment of the water body you are interested in. Where are you located in this catchment? Who or what is located upstream from you that has an impact on your freshwater health? Who or what is located downstream from you, meaning their freshwater health is impacted by choices made in your area? Please take 30 seconds to note down what comes to your mind. The sociological context is easily the most complex aspect of a context analysis, with a wide variety of factors and unwritten rules that structure society. Often it is difficult to judge which aspects might have an impact on your specific field of action. However, as a general guideline, one would normally start with some descriptive statistics of the population and demographics. Then, the analysis should look for factors that divide society into distinct subgroups, such as stratification by social status, ethnicity, language, or religion. To create acceptance for a suggested freshwater health initiative, objectives have to fit within wider value systems of society. Therefore, it is also important to know how society comes to judge something as good or bad or worthy of support, meaning the final stage is to look into sources of local identity, but also trends and key influences. Role models of local leaders and the local population can be located far away and are therefore often overlooked. Therefore, in our third challenge question, we ask you to consider the political role models in your own context. A starting point for this is to think about which foreign countries, which regions within or without the countries, and which cities are often reported on in local news and newspapers, or might be mentioned by politicians in speeches as examples for certain actions. Please take 30 seconds again to note the first examples that come to mind. Technology changes rapidly. So more than in any of the other fields, analyzing the technology dimension of your context has to look into trends and developments as much as into the present state. In general, the analysis starts with the question what role technology plays in your planned initiatives. Do you rely on certain infrastructure, for example? Or would a specific group of public officials or regular citizens be asked to use technology or rely on technology to share or receive information? Depending on your answer, the investigation might focus on the state of infrastructure, on technology penetration and use, and so on. Note that data and monitoring systems form part of technology, an important aspect in a monitoring-heavy area such as environmental management. In the fourth challenge question of this segment, please consider the freshwater data collected and managed by local authorities. Is such data been made available to the general public? And if yes, can citizens download entire datasets or only PDF reports? Take 30 seconds again to note what you think the current state of data accessibility is. Economic power is a major driver of all policy. Similar to the technological dimension, the shape of economic context analysis depends very much on the nature of your plans. For example, if your initiative includes business solutions, you will need to think about markets. If it involves new regulations, the response of the local business community might be an issue. Finally, the economic situation of the population itself might create interesting and unexpected influences. For example, a population with high rates of home ownership might support healthy freshwater ecosystems that raise the value of their properties, while in areas with a lot of commuting, conducting surveys during business hours might encounter few people actually living in this area, a case that we ourselves encountered in a recent project. Economic influences are often experienced much more personally and directly than just in consideration of the general context. To answer our fifth challenge question, we would ask you to consider companies that are active in the area of your chosen freshwater system. Can you name companies that are politically influential, and are you aware of the source of their influence? Do you know if any of them engage in environmental conservation? Again, take 30 seconds to note the first three that come to mind. The final dimension, analysis of the legal context, is straightforward and normally consists of a desk study of laws and policies related to your planned initiative. The biggest risk in this regard is tunnel vision. Just because you are dealing with freshwater systems does not mean that water and environmental policies are the only policies or even the most important policies to consider. The most frequently overlooked bodies of law that will affect your success are administrative law, assigning responsibilities, laws and policies regulating civilian involvement in decision-making, policies on spatial planning and zoning, and policies on data use and protection. For our final challenge question, we invite you to consider the content of this MOOC from a legal perspective. The tools and methods taught in the course are well thought through, and many would certainly help you to improve the health of the freshwater body you are interested in. However, would it be legal for you to adopt the methods presented here in an official capacity? Or is there a specific authority that has to issue or authorize assessment methods before they can be used by a public agency? Take 30 seconds to note what you think the legal situation is. In summary, if you consider the example questions presented in this segment across all 6 dimensions of the PESTEL analysis, you'll hopefully get a sense when and why a context analysis is valuable and useful. The goal is to ask exactly the right questions to reveal the specific operating space in which your initiative will take place. If done well, it will create an inventory of places, resources, rules, influences, organizations, and institutions surrounding the freshwater system, which might, could, or will have an impact on your plan. However, at this stage, it is just an inventory, meaning there is no knowledge yet in which direction the influence exerted positively or negatively. How to answer that question will be the subject of the next 3 videos.